to you by Titleist.
What a win it was for the Americans, a much-needed win. At that, you did just hear from George and Tripp, Lisa Cornwell, Matt Adams, Tim Rosaport. Guys, this was it was an epic week for the Americans, a much-needed victory. How much credit do you give to that Ryder Cup task force, Matt?
I actually think that the American team was strong enough that they would have won whether the task force existed or not. But, you know, for example, like Patrick Reed. I think Patrick Reed was out there playing for the Stars and Stripes. I don't think he was necessarily playing just for a committee. However, to give credit where credit is due, without that committee, without that task force first that preceded the committee, Davis Love III wouldn't have been the captain again. I mean, there was talk of David Toms becoming the captain of the team. So the fact that Davis Love III came back in, and if you're going to criticize a captain with a loss, then in fairness, you have to give the captain some credit with a victory. And so from that standpoint, that is directly traceable to that group.
Well, Phil's got to work on his leap of faith. I'm sorry, on his vertical leap, but as far as this leap of faith that he led everybody on, sorry, it's been a long week up there without too many hours of sleep. Yeah, he stuck the landing. I mean, this was all on Phil, obviously. He was the front man for this idea. As he told me, though, up there, it wasn't a case of the U.S. not bonding with each other. It was a case more so of bonding with the event itself and having more say and input and buy-in and all the things, all the words that you heard. And so he led him down this path. And then the rest of it, though, obviously had to be produced by the golf. And whether the attitude affected the golf or the golf affected the attitude, the bottom line was that long-term, while it was great for the event short-term and almost necessary, long-term now there's a blueprint that they can follow and not have to get into the type of problems that they had over the last 25 years and basically the last 3 Ryder Cups, obviously, going in there 4 down.
And I don't think that we've seen the attitudes quite like this. I mean, we've seen a lot of Ryder Cups, a lot of spirited, it doesn't matter what it is, President's Cup, Solheim Cup. I mean, they always get spirited, but this was definitely unique and one of a kind. The crowds were loud and rowdy, as much as you would expect in a Ryder Cup, but maybe even more magnified this go around, considering it was on American soil with the U.S. trying to capture the Cup for the first time since 2008. The Europeans said things did get a little over the top at times, but they took it all in stride and realized that, well, this is all part of it.
Today was definitely a little bit better, I would say. Obviously, I definitely know I haven't won a major.
People are here to have a good time. Geez, I know if I was watching a Ryder Cup, I'd want to do the same thing. I mean, I'd love to be on the other side of the ropes giving people abuse. It'd be so good, but unfortunately I have to play inside the ropes, and that's a great privilege to have, but I'm not sure there's any way you can police that.
I think the US team were as embarrassed about those comments that were coming as you were, and on a good point, I got called a turd yesterday, which is the first time since I was about 12 years old, so it made me feel young again.
Every US player and every US caddy were trying to do the same thing. They were trying to calm some of those few idiots down that were out there. And I think on behalf of us all, we have to give massive respect to Davis, his vice captains, and his team and his caddy for the way that they tried to police it on our behalf.
Before the Ryder Cup started, it was Danny Willett's brother with the tweet getting all of the news, and then Danny put out this tweet himself saying, very strange week here at the Ryder Cup, tried my best but played poorly. Unfortunately, some American fans showed that his brother, PJ Willett, was in fact correct. Nothing to blame my bad play on, but still shows that sometimes fans don't know when to call it a day. Shame, really. Now listen, Danny Willett is funny. He is dry. Was that a little kind of tongue-in-cheek? Was he being a tad bit sarcastic, or was?
Well, I mean, it's a difficult one to judge, because when I first was seeing the reaction of the European players, I thought that it was a little bit of petulance. I thought it was a little bit of biting the hand that feeds you, in the trough that's supplied by the bounty of the PGA Tour, in many of the cases of the players. But once I heard the comments, I realized that many of the comments, aside from Lee's being called a turd, many of the comments I actually do think cross the line. And when it's all said and done, kind of reflecting back on it, I think that the PGA of America did a brilliant job in staging this Ryder Cup. But a problem that has been growing in the game of golf once again reared its head with the people in the crowd inserting themselves into the field of competition. And I think it's something that the game of golf has to look into, because as the game strives to reach a broader and broader audience, you have to make a decision. Will you maintain the integrity and the dignity and the civility of the game, or will you do it selling your soul?
It's good that the way this ended, fan behavior really wasn't an issue yesterday. It was something that was about Saturday and we moved on. The PGA enforced more so its zero tolerance policy on Sunday, but I didn't really think they had to. I think most of it was policed just by the fact that fans were looking out for the players more so than they were being belligerent to them. I can understand hearing some of the things that were said, why Rory and some of the guys reacted that way. But at the same time, you know, as he said afterward, he made light of it, basically, which is the perfect way to handle it. They totally took the high road. It was a tiny number. I mean, Darren Clark said it was 1/10 of 1%, which, if you did the numbers, 1/10 of 1%. With 250,000 people out there.
No, well, it was about 45,000 officially.
I'm talking about over the course of the...
Yeah, so at any one given day, 1/10 of 1% is 50 individuals that truly cross the line. And I bet that number is pretty accurate.
Like, we're
it
all
was personal, too. You know, some of the stuff was personal. Some of it, at least as you probably saw on TV here, I mean, it was guys walking into shots when they were doing it. It wasn't like it was in a moment when they couldn't do it.
Well, and that definitely is crossing the line. I'm a huge sports fan, as I know you guys are, and there's something about it, I think, that does help the game of golf a little bit. Just yelling and, you know, not so...
Turd is unacceptable.
Not so civil. Turd is absolutely acceptable. Still ahead on Golf Central, not according to you. The presence of Arnold Palmer could certainly be felt throughout the grounds of Hazeltine last week. Players, captains, fans, members of the media all coming together to pay tribute to the one and only King at an event that meant so much to him over the years.